Hey, Vinyl Community, Jeff back again, and it's time to do another one of my perfect 10s. Again, an idea that I borrowed from Rick over at Rick and Records. He started this a long time ago. I started it shortly after him and have been continuing. Believe I'm up to part 13 now. I have made it from outside of the shelves behind me over to the last shelf in front of me. So if my guesstimation is right, maybe 3 more would blow me through the main set of my records. 3.5, maybe 4. Maybe the last one should be longer to make it through, or maybe I'll just go from there into the rock section. Most of everything I've been showing so far is part of my hard and heavy, my rock hard section. So this is the heavier stuff that I have, and then I have a section which is just classic rock, hard rock, general rock. Some classic rock bands fit into that era. Your April Wine and Triumph and Billy Squier and some of the radio, I call it radio friendly rock. There you go. But also some of the harder rock. Anyway, and then I've got a section that's strictly pop. So anyway, I could go a little further than this, but here we go. Let's jump into this. I pulled these last night actually, so I may not be as familiar with what I grabbed. First up, Saxon Crusader. We stopped the last one at Savior Machine. So yeah, we're in the S's. Saxon Crusader. Absolutely, probably in my early days, one of my favorite albums by them, period. Denim and Leather is where I discovered them. I cut my teeth on Denim and Leather. It, to me, is perfect. It's the perfect album because I grew up listening to that. I mean, I listened to that one for so long. Every song on there is ingrained in me. Power and Glory, for some reason, didn't resonate with me as much. I think Crusader really clicked with me because I'm very much into the medieval look. And I think the album cover really grabbed me. I love that. And then the songs itself, just, everything about this album, for me, was just great. So for me, if I had to pick my favorite 2 from the early years, I'd probably say Denim and Leather and Crusader are going to be my high water marks for those days. And so I love pretty much everything they've done, but this one really stands out as just one of my favorites from back in the day. All right, Stardust Strangers, a band I'm totally unfamiliar with. Can't tell you a whole lot about them. Got this in the Metalhead box a couple years ago. Female fronted, if I recall. It was good. I don't know a whole lot about it, and this thing is so small and this room is so dark. A unique and riveting concept album by the dynamic emergent voice in progressive symphonic metal. Yeah, so there you go. Special guest performances by Patty Gurdy, no clue. Mastered by people that I don't know. Download card included. Yeah, so symphonic type metal. Seems like a lot of symphonic metal type bands have their male gruff vocals and then the pretty melodic female vocals. And so honestly, it's just so much so that I don't listen to a lot of those bands because it's just, they all sound the same to me after a while. So I'm not recalling. I remember listening to this and thinking it was good, but again, I'm not recalling if it stood out enough to where I'm giving it too many multiple plays. All right, we're moving into MichaelSchenker group. Actually, I showed this not too terribly long ago. This is MichaelSchenker on guitar with a lot of different singers, a lot of different musicians. It's kind of one of those, so many of those tribute type albums where they do that. I've got Iron Maiden, I've got Kiss, everything out there. Let's get together all the singers from every 80s and 90s band you could find and get them all together and record a bunch of songs. That's kind of how this is. So you've got all kinds of people on here, and it's just Sebastian Bach, Joe Lynn Turner, Leslie West, Paul Diano, blah, 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 blah. I dig these albums, but this came drop down, heavy hitters. It's a 2-record set, drop down in price. I have a version of this, a single album version. This has been reissued under so many names. Heavy hitters, the Bruce Kulick sessions. The one I've got, I forget, it's just called MichaelSchenker's Guitar or something, but these songs have been repackaged in so many formats, but I believe this was the original. So this has all, I believe this has all the songs 2 record set, whereas the other one I've got is a single record set. So I think this one might be the original. I don't know. But you know, All Shook Up, Blood on the Sun, Doctor, War Pigs. I'm not talking Money, Hair of the Dog, Politician, things like that. And then there's some instrumental tracks on here too. So anyway, yes, I'm a big MichaelSchenker fan. So I saw that the price dropped, I grabbed it. Oh, here you go. Return to Forever by the Scorpions. I remember picking this up way back when I first started getting into vinyl. One of the local FYE stores was going out of business, and the records were like 40% off. And then in the next couple of days, 50% off, and a couple of days later, 60% off. And so I went in there a couple different days to get whatever scraps I could, and I picked this up for very little money. And so yeah, Scorpions. This is what, 10 years ago or so. This is one of their more recent albums at the time, at least, and I am not reading black on white. Yeah, anyway, it's one of the more modern ones. Great stuff, though. Great stuff. Ooh, okay. I feel like there's... I don't know. Okay, it's just because it's 180, I guess. Lament for the Weary by SeventhAngel. SeventhAngel, late 80s, early 90s, UK. It's an aggressive band. It's not death metal. How do you describe this? Whatever, it's kind of thrashy for the day, but absolutely love. This is their second album. Their first album blew me away. Their second album likewise blew me away. And so I love these. These have been reissued on vinyl in the past 4 or 5 years or so. Both of these are on vinyl now. And yeah, from the artwork right down to the music involved. Why is this? Oh, it's a double record set. That's why it feels so heavy. All right. Yeah. These are just classic. I just love these albums. These are some of the heavier albums I was listening to back in that late 80s, early 90s. I wasn't big into the heavy stuff. So like Vengeance Rising was pretty extreme. I like thrash, but that has a more melodic. This just had a little more gruffer. Loosely Motorhead-ish. It's just got the gruffer vocals and then just, killer thrashy type music. Love this album. Love this album. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, just great stuff. And here comes Garbage Man, so ignore the noise in the background. It's coming to pick up the trash. Anyway, moving on. Great stuff. Ooh, okay. Wow, I guess we blew right past the 77s and got all the way back to their first album, Ping Pong Over the Abyss. The very first, I just noticed, Ping Pong Over the Abyss, the 77s, the 77s. I just noticed that their name's on here twice. That's weird. Anyway, the early days of the 77s was a lot different than any days going forward beyond that. This album has got a very new wave-ish, not really new wave, pop punk type. It's got some punk, it's got some new wavy feels in there, because this was the early years. They even had to look. I mean, this would have been the 80s, but yeah, they went through a lot of different sound changes. I've loved them all. They went into harder, some edgier stuff, but they've always maintained just a rock band status. This album's an absolute classic. Absolute love all of those songs. The band changed member-wise after that, shortly after that, and so did the feel. The first couple albums are classic, and then they kind of moved into some other territory, but still going to this day, or haven't put anything out real recently, but all the things they put out in the past 10 years has been great. When Worlds Collide by Sinbreed. I had this on CD. I probably still have this on CD, and I forget at one point the vinyl edition on Alterium, it dropped to a low level when I grabbed it. Alterium Records, US, what do they describe themselves as? Just kind of, that doesn't say, exclusive white vinyl. Just straight up rock, hard rock. I don't want to say power metal. I'm kind of drawing a little bit of a blank on who I could describe these guys as, but they've done a couple. I think they've done a couple albums, and I'm not sure if this is the only one that I have on vinyl. Or maybe this is the only one that's on vinyl. Anyway, Alterium Records out of Sweden has reissued this, and so yeah. Anyway, I enjoy it. That's great stuff. Oh, check it out. We got some Skillet, Victorious. Skillet has a brand new album out. I know it's been out for months now, and I have not seen anything about a vinyl issue of that. I have not bought the CD, and honestly, I've only listened to it online like one time, but I'm missing out. Yeah, I think they have come or are coming in concert soon, and I would like to go see them. Big fan of Skillet, seen them quite a few times in concert. This is from a couple years ago. There's a couple of their albums out that I have yet to get on vinyl. I have them all on CD, but this one I scored. I think I've got 2 of their albums on vinyl, and some of the other stuff I do not yet have. So Skillet, love them. You know, it's funny. So I listen to a lot of Skillet, but not a lot of the bands that they sound like. And so now occasionally I skim past on Sirius XM. I skim past other stations like Octane and some of those ones that play more modern stuff. And I found bands that sound just like Skillet. I'm like, okay, you know, I always thought Skillet just sounded like themselves, and I didn't really. Again, I'm not as familiar with a lot of modern bands, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, they sound a lot like Skillet. So I guess Skillet's not alone. I Am by SleepingGiant, hardcore, metalcore. That's the word, metalcore, not hardcore. Metalcore. Beautiful, weird, clear-ish reissue. These have been reissued. This one is actually one of the Face Down Records, I think, originals, and they have their stuff has been reissued recently. You get it at Boone's Overstock. I don't know if it was a retroactive reissue or a Brutal Planet, but anyway, yeah. So great stuff. One of my favorite metalcore bands. They're a little more on the, at times, on the hardcore feel. As far as the vocal structure, to me, they're a little more punky than they are metal, but they're pretty heavy. Yeah, so maybe they're more, I don't know, I'm going to get tased for, you know, whatever I call them, but I love them. They did a few albums and then kind of broke up and went and did other things, but some of their stuff I finally have acquired on vinyl because they just got reissued, but this is one of the original ones that was issued by the band's label. All right, The Lesser Key of Solomon, A Sound of Thunder. So I have 2 Sound of Thunder albums, female fronted metal band. Again, it's gonna have that symphonic feel. This is a double record set. I don't purple. The first copy of their album I got on the Metalhead box and had never heard of them. Now, I can't recall if this later came in the Metalhead box or if I purchased it somewhere because I had that first album. But cool stuff, like their stuff. Was intrigued by the title. I do read a lot of extra biblical writings, ancient Near Eastern and or ancient Hebrew writings. So the Key of Solomon, I've read stuff on Solomon and the powers of Solomon. I did a speech at a conference on Solomon and some of the writings that they have of Solomon. You know, he was a king, he knew all this stuff, great wisdom and everything, and there's all these writings that he's apparently, I don't want to say spells, but he had like rings that had power and enchantments. It sounds witchcrafty when you say it like that. Just a lot of things about things that he did in the name of God. Anyway, so when I saw this Lesser Key of Solomon, I wondered if it was related to that. I don't know. I mean, this is not a Christian band that I'm aware of by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, they have a song in here called Elijah, so that's biblical. Black Secrets sounds, you know, you start getting into that stuff that's extra biblical about characters, and you know, you never know which way to go. So I don't know if they were tapping into that, sort of like there's another band out there, Spillage, that I'll probably hit into if I don't blow past them soon. They have a lot of that stuff in it about the Watchers and stuff like that. So I'm always intrigued to see where bands go with that. Yeah, Attacker the same way. They've touched on that stuff. Anyway, a lot of great stuff. I'm rambling on. If you haven't checked out this band, they are good. I forget exactly where they're from, but they have a couple albums out. I have 2 of them. They probably have another, I think at least 3, but A Sound of Thunder. And that brings us to the end. I sure do hope I didn't go 11 this time. I did 11 last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There you go. 10. Great. 10 perfect. The perfect 10. I'm getting my series confused. Anyway, that's it. We'll be back with another one of these eventually. Thanks a lot for watching. Rock on and rock hard.